I, 28F, just found out my sister Rachel, 35F, has been lying to me about my birth mother for the past 15 years. The whole situation has left me questioning everything I thought I knew about my family and my childhood. For context, I was adopted when I was 2 years old. My adoptive parents, Mark and Linda, were amazing people who gave me a wonderful life. They never made me feel different or less loved than Rachel, their biological daughter. I have memories of weekend trips to the beach, holiday celebrations, and family game nights where we'd all laugh until our sides hurt. Dad would always let me win at chess until I was old enough to actually beat him, and Mom would spend hours helping me with my science projects even though she hated science. Unfortunately, they passed away in a car accident when I was 13. It happened on a rainy night when they were driving back from their anniversary dinner. A drunk driver hit them head-on, and they died at the scene. That night changed everything for Rachel and me. Rachel was 20 at the time and had just started her second year of college. She immediately dropped out and became my legal guardian. I still remember the day she sat me down and told me she would take care of me. She had tears in her eyes but tried to stay strong, saying that's what Mom and Dad would have wanted. Rachel worked 2 jobs, as a waitress during the day and a receptionist at night. She would come home exhausted but still make time to help me with homework or listen to me talk about school. She made sure I never missed a school event or activity, even though I know it was hard for her to manage. Growing up, I had occasional questions about my adoption, but my parents were always open about it. They told me I was chosen specially to be part of their family. However, they passed away before I could ask more detailed questions about my birth mother, as I was too young to really care before then. When I turned 13, shortly after our parents died, I started having more questions about where I came from. It was a difficult time. I had just lost my parents, was going through teenage changes, and felt lost. I asked Rachel about my birth mother, hoping to understand more about my background. Rachel told me a story that broke my heart but also made me stop asking questions. She said my birth mother was a troubled teenager who abandoned me at the hospital right after I was born. According to Rachel, this girl didn't even name me, she just left me there and disappeared. Rachel claimed she had tried to find information about her when I first started asking but couldn't find anything. She said maybe it was better this way, that my birth mother clearly didn't want to be found. I believed her completely. Why wouldn't I? Rachel had given up everything to raise me. She was my sister, my guardian, my best friend. She had never lied to me before, as far as I knew. So I accepted what she told me and tried to move on with my life, grateful for the family I did have. Last month, everything changed. Rachel and I had been talking about selling our parents' house, which we'd been renting out since their death. We needed to clear out their old storage unit first. I took a day off work to sort through the boxes. Most of it was typical stuff, old furniture, holiday decorations, photo albums. Then I found a box labeled Emma's adoption tucked away in the corner. Inside were documents I'd never seen before, my original adoption papers, court records, and most importantly, letters. Dozens of letters from my birth mother to our parents, starting from when I was 4 until I was 12. As I sat there on the dusty storage unit floor reading them, my whole world turned upside down. My birth mother's name was Sarah. She was 16 when she had me, and contrary to what Rachel told me, she hadn't abandoned me. The letters revealed that she had made an open adoption agreement with my parents. She chose them specifically because they lived in the same state and were willing to let her have some contact with me as I grew up. The letters were full of love and longing. Sarah wrote about how hard the decision was to give me up, but she knew she couldn't provide the life I deserved. Her family was struggling financially, and she wanted to make sure I had every opportunity possible. She sent birthday cards every year, asking about my interests and achievements. She even sent small gifts, a handmade blanket when I was 5, a charm bracelet when I was 10, things I never received. The last letter was dated just 2 weeks before our parents' accident. In it, Sarah was asking if she could finally meet me on my upcoming 13th birthday. She wrote about how she'd finished college, had a stable job, and hoped that maybe now we could have some kind of relationship. She included photos of herself. I looked just like her. I spent hours in that storage unit, crying and reading every letter multiple times. Then I gathered them all and went home to confront Rachel. When I walked in, she was making dinner like it was any other night. I spread the letters on our kitchen table and watched her face change as she realized what they were. At first, she tried to deny everything. She said she didn't know about the letters, that maybe Mom and Dad had kept them secret. But when I showed her the ones dated after their death, letters that had clearly been opened and read, she couldn't lie anymore. She broke down crying and admitted everything. After our parents died, she intercepted all communication from Sarah. She found the letters in their house and hid them. When Sarah tried to contact us after the accident, Rachel told her I was too traumatized and didn't want any contact with her. She betrayed not only me but also our parents' wishes for an open adoption. Rachel claimed she did it because she was terrified of losing me. She said she was young and scared, suddenly responsible for a grieving 13-year-old. She thought if I knew about my birth mother, I would choose her instead of Rachel, and she would be left alone. She begged me to understand that she only did it out of love. But I can't understand it. She had no right to make that decision for me. She robbed me of the chance to know my birth mother during my teenage years when I desperately needed maternal guidance. She manipulated both me and Sarah, maintaining this lie for 15 years. She watched me struggle with questions about my identity and background, knowing the truth the whole time. When I told her I wanted to find Sarah now, Rachel got angry. She started yelling about how ungrateful I was, how she had sacrificed everything for me. She said I was betraying her by wanting to contact my birth mother now. But I think she's the one who betrayed me. I couldn't stay in our apartment after that. I packed some clothes and went to stay with my friend Kate. Rachel keeps calling and texting, saying she only did it because she loved me and was afraid of losing me. But I can't forgive her for making such a huge decision about my life without my knowledge or consent. Ida for wanting nothing to do with her right now? Update 1, it's been 3 weeks since my last post. The support and advice I received from everyone was overwhelming. Many people suggested I try to find my birth mother, and after a lot of thought, that's exactly what I did. After moving out of the apartment I shared with Rachel, I stayed with my friend Kate. She helped me find a reputable private investigator who specialized in adoption cases. I used some of my savings to hire him, figuring it was worth the cost to finally get answers. The pie worked faster than I expected. Within a week, he found Sarah living just 2 hours away from our city. She's 42 now, married to a man named David, and they have 2 children, my half-siblings. The pie provided me with her email address and current phone number, along with assurance that she had no criminal record and seemed to be living a stable life. I spent 3 days drafting and redrafting an email to her. How do you even start a message like that? Eventually, I kept it simple. I explained who I was, mentioned finding her letters, and asked if she would be willing to meet. I hit send at 2 a.m., then couldn't sleep all night wondering if I'd made the right decision. She responded just hours later. Her email was emotional. She said she'd never stopped thinking about me and had always hoped I would reach out someday. We arranged to meet that weekend at a coffee shop halfway between our cities. I was a nervous wreck the morning of the meeting. Kate drove me there because my hands were shaking too much to drive safely. I arrived early and got a table in the corner, my heart pounding every time someone walked in. Then Sarah arrived. I recognized her immediately from the photos in her letters, even though they were years old. She looked so much like me. We have the same curly brown hair and green eyes. She stood in the doorway scanning the cafe, and when our eyes met, we both started crying. The next few hours were intense. Sarah had brought a photo album she'd kept of me since I was a baby. She had copies of every school photo my parents had sent her, pictures from dance recitals and school plays that I didn't even remember. She had saved everything. But then she told me something that made my blood run cold. After my parents died, she had actually come to our house to check on me. She was worried about how I was coping with the loss. Rachel met her at the door and told her I was too traumatized to see anyone. According to Sarah, Rachel said I had specifically stated I didn't want to meet my birth mother because it would be too overwhelming on top of losing my parents. Sarah was heartbroken but respected what she thought were my wishes. She didn't want to cause me more pain during an already difficult time. Still, she wanted to help somehow. That's when she revealed something that floored me. She had been sending money every month to help with my expenses after our parents died. Rachel had never told me about this money. Sarah showed me copies of the checks she'd sent, $500 every month for years. She said Rachel had told her the money was being put into a college fund for me. I felt sick to my stomach. When I got home, I immediately started going through my old bank statements. Sure enough, there were monthly deposits from an account I didn't recognize, but they stopped when I turned 18. Rachel had been receiving this money, thousands of dollars, and keeping it for herself. I called Rachel that night, my hands shaking with anger. At first, she tried to deny knowing about any money. But when I told her I'd seen copies of the checks, she changed her story. She admitted to using the money for our expenses, but when I pressed her, she revealed she'd spent most of it on herself, new clothes, a used car, and even a vacation with her boyfriend at the time. Her justification made me even angrier. She said she deserved the money for giving up her college education to raise me. She talked about how hard it had been to be a guardian at 20, how she'd sacrificed her youth for me. When I pointed out that she had chosen to accept that responsibility and that the money was meant for me, she got defensive and started crying about how ungrateful I was. The conversation ended with her screaming that she was the only real mother I had because she had actually raised me. She said Sarah gave up that right when she gave me up for adoption. I hung up on her. I spent that night going through more of the letters I'd found. There were birthday cards with checks that I'd never received, holiday cards with gift cards that had never made it to me. All these years, Rachel hadn't just been lying about my birth mother, she'd been stealing from me too. Sarah has invited me to dinner at her house next weekend to meet her husband and my half-siblings. I'm nervous but excited. Meanwhile, Rachel keeps leaving voicemails alternating between angry accusations and tearful apologies. I've blocked her number. I always thought Rachel sacrificed everything to take care of me. Now I'm realizing she also sacrificed my right to know my own history and stole money that was meant to help with my upbringing. I can't help but wonder what else she lied about. Update 2: 2 months have passed since I met Sarah, and so much has changed. I've been spending weekends at her house, getting to know her family. My half-siblings, Amy, 14, and Jack, 12, are amazing kids. They were excited to meet their big sister, and we've already developed inside jokes and shared interests. Jack and I both love building Lego sets, while Amy and I share a passion for true crime podcasts. Sarah's husband David has been incredibly welcoming too. He knew about me from the beginning of their relationship and had encouraged Sarah to keep trying to contact me over the years. They kept a room in their house that they call the memory room, filled with photos and mementos of their family history. Last week, Sarah showed me this room for the first time. That's when I discovered something that shattered any remaining doubt about Rachel's true nature. On the wall were photos I'd never seen before, including several that made my heart stop, pictures of Rachel at their house. When I asked Sarah about them, she went pale and quiet. After some gentle prodding, she revealed a truth that made me physically sick. About 5 years ago, Rachel had somehow found out where Sarah lived. Instead of telling me, she went to Sarah's house and threatened her. Rachel told Sarah that if she didn't pay extra money beyond the monthly support, Rachel would tell me horrible lies about Sarah being a drug addict who had abused me before giving me up for adoption. Sarah, terrified of losing any chance of reconnecting with me, agreed to pay. For years, Rachel had been extorting my birth mother. She would show up at Sarah's house every few months, demanding cash payments that ranged from $1,000 to $5,000, always with the same threat: pay up, or she'd poison my mind against Sarah forever. The photos on the wall were from these visits. Sarah's husband had secretly taken them as evidence in case they ever needed proof. Sarah broke down crying as she told me this. She said she knew giving in to blackmail was wrong, but she was so afraid of losing any chance to know me that she paid every time. She showed me a notebook where she'd recorded every payment, every visit, and every threat. The total amount was staggering, over $50,000 across 5 years. I drove straight to Rachel's apartment. For the first time since discovering her initial lies, I wasn't sad or hurt, I was furious. When I confronted her, her response shocked me even more than the blackmail revelations. She didn't deny anything. Instead, she acted like what she'd done was perfectly reasonable. She said she needed the money for her failed business ventures. Apparently, she tried to start several small businesses over the years and lost everything. She claimed she was entitled to the money because she'd given up her own future to raise me. When I pointed out that blackmail was illegal, she laughed and said Sarah had paid willingly, so it wasn't really blackmail. But what really got to me was when she said she'd done me a favor by keeping Sarah away. She actually believed she had the right to control my relationship with my birth mother, even as an adult. She said she was protecting me from getting hurt, but all I could see was how she'd used me as a weapon to extort money from a woman whose only crime was wanting to know her daughter. I asked her what happened to all the money she'd gotten from Sarah. She admitted she'd spent it all on her failed businesses and expensive shopping habits. She even tried to justify it by saying she deserved nice things after everything she'd done for me. Looking around her apartment, I could see where the money had gone: designer bags, expensive electronics, luxury furniture. All bought with money she'd extorted from my birth mother using threats about me. It made me sick to think how she'd used me as a tool for her greed. Before I left, she tried one last time to manipulate me. She started crying about how she was all alone, how everyone always left her, how I was abandoning her just like our parents did when they died. For the first time, I saw through her emotional manipulation completely. I told her she wasn't alone because she'd been abandoned, she was alone because she'd driven everyone away with her lies and manipulation. I left her apartment knowing I could never trust her again. She hadn't just lied about my birth mother or stolen money meant for my care, she'd actively blackmailed an innocent woman using threats about me. It felt like every new revelation about Rachel just revealed another layer of betrayal. Update 3: It's been 6 months since my original post, and I finally found peace with my decisions. After discovering Rachel's blackmail scheme, I completely cut contact with her. It wasn't easy, she didn't go quietly. First, she tried to turn our extended family against me. She called our aunts, uncles, and cousins, telling them I had abandoned her for my new family after everything she'd sacrificed for me. She painted herself as the devoted sister who gave up everything to raise me, only to be cast aside when my birth mother came into the picture. At first, some family members believed her. Our Aunt Carol even called me to lecture me about family loyalty and how blood is thicker than water. I finally decided to set the record straight. I created a group email and attached everything: copies of Sarah's letters that Rachel had hidden, bank statements showing the stolen support money, and most importantly, Sarah's detailed records of Rachel's blackmail visits. The response was immediate. Most of our family was horrified. Aunt Carol called me crying to apologize. Our cousins cut contact with Rachel. Even our grandparents, who had initially defended Rachel, were shocked into silence when they saw the evidence. Sarah helped me connect with a lawyer who specialized in fraud cases. The lawyer said we had a strong case against Rachel for both the stolen support payments and the blackmail. We could have pressed charges and likely won. But after much discussion with Sarah, I decided against legal action. Not because Rachel deserved mercy, but because I wanted to move forward with my life instead of being tied to court proceedings for months or years. Rachel lost her job last month. Apparently, her workplace found out about her history of fraud when she tried to apply for a promotion that required a background check. She sent me a long email begging for help. She wrote about how she was about to be evicted, how she had no one else to turn to, how she only did everything because she loved me too much and was afraid of losing me. I didn't respond. Some of our more traditional relatives still think I should forgive Rachel since she raised me. They keep saying things like she's still your sister and she did the best she could. But I can't get past her years of calculated manipulation. This wasn't just a one-time mistake or a decision made in panic. She systematically lied to me, stole from me, and blackmailed my birth mother for years. I've blocked Rachel on everything: phone, email, social media. I'm moving to a new apartment next month and haven't given my new address to anyone who might share it with her. Sarah has helped me find a place actually closer to her family, and I'm looking forward to being able to spend more time with my half-siblings. Last week, I received a package from our grandparents. Inside was my mother's old jewelry box that Rachel had kept after our parents died. Our grandmother had convinced Rachel to give it back. Looking through it, I found a locket with a picture of me as a baby with my adoptive parents. It reminded me that my parents had wanted me to know Sarah, to have both families in my life. Rachel took that choice away from me for 15 years. I'm finally at peace with my decision to remove Rachel from my life. I have a wonderful relationship with Sarah and her family now, and I'm building a life free from manipulation and lies. Sometimes the hardest decision is the right one, and cutting off toxic family members, even ones who helped raise you, can be necessary for your own well-being.